Brett likes to tease me about my music.
It's a cool kind of.
Oh, it gets cooler.
Oh.
Welcome to #SetLife.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. So we are recording from our new office and studio. So very first episode. So if the sound isn't right, we'll figure it out. But today we have with us Jezar Riches. Jezar, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hello, how are you?
Jezar, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what you do in the film industry?
Well, I am a writer and director. But before any of those things, I am in fact an actress. So, yeah. Oh, but you know what? You know how it goes when you do independent film. You have to do a lot of things.
You wear a lot of hats.
But deep down in your soul, you're a performer.
Yes, performer, but secretly love PA. So
you know what? Praise the PA. Anytime, I love it. It
is a skill in its own.
So many of our guests are like, "Oh, but PAing and
it is."
Yeah, well, yeah, we love it. We
it's
love
a sweet
it.
spot.
Well, and I've heard, talk of people going, "Oh, since it's a strike, I'll step down in PA." Don't you dare talk down on the people who keep the production running. Every cog is as important as the other. Ask a clockmaker. You know what I mean? You don't get a Swiss run clock without every cog running smoothly, perfectly.
I definitely agree with that.
So you started then as an actress and have moved into writing and directing? Is that correct?
So my mother was a writer and director. She had her own production doing plays.
Oh, okay.
So even as a little infant, she would take me to her rehearsals. So I kind of grew up doing stage first.
Okay.
I was in a theater company when I was younger. And from that point, I became, for a brief time, right before the blackout, if you old enough to remember that. But
the Detroit blackout?
Yeah.
I am old enough to remember.
But
which one? The 2003?
Yes, that's exactly,
I was in the shower. And here's the thing. The shower stopped, which confused me because it doesn't operate.
Turned off too.
So
you guys must have had some sort of electrical pump.
I was in an apartment building,
I
was full of suds, and I'm yelling out to my daughter's mom. I'm like, "What the hell happened? What's going on?" She's like, "I don't know. The power went out," and I'm like, "Yeah, but." The water? Like, I don't understand. So I had to figure out a way to get myself on.
What floor were you guys on?
A third.
Yeah, you had a pump that fed your water up.
And so then it was an adventure throughout the day. You couldn't listen to the radio. Our cell phones weren't working. Like, it was a full-on apocalypse in the making.
The worst part for me was not being able to use the fan, but whatever.
It was miserable. It was in the middle of August.
Yeah, that was like the worst part.
So what happened during the blackout? We've tangented. Sorry.
I actually had my first directing gig. So I was
that was theater.
Yeah, in theater. And I had just graduated high school. So this was like my first time right before college. And I was directing a performance with these little kids. And needless to say, we were in mid-rehearsal when the blackout happened, but we never followed through. But
hey, the show goes on.
Yeah, but you know what? That's when I found out I really had a passion for directing.
Right. Bradford and I both got our start in theater as well. So we definitely understand that bug being a little bit different from the film bug, but it's still satiated by the film.
So what I find completely different, like the biggest difference for me between performing in theater and performing in front of a camera is the instant gratification of the audience.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I don't think there's any way to really capture that with film other than, being at a premiere, but you can't be, if you've got a multi-million-dollar blockbuster, you can't be in every theater.
Right.
But as a performer on Broadway, on you stage, are literally at every performance.
Now, that I understand, but for me, I think I would call film a different kind of instant gratification, right? Because you get to see, because people are going to react during playback because we can't react during a scene, right? So we'll do playback a lot of times, or when you're seeing footage and you're going to the viewings, being able to witness it while not doing it is a little more gratifying.
Yeah, you can definitely see yourself back more immediately in that case. And I get that. That's something that I definitely...
But being able, in the performance, you hear and you can feel in theater, but when you're at a premiere and you're watching people watch you,
Right.
that
Especially
out of
here.
body,
Yeah.
out of body in watching them like love your performance from the side and being able to actually be in them appreciating your performance
Right.
is a little different, and I enjoy that more personally.
I
wow.
don't think still don't think they're the same. And I
They
hear what
are
you're
not
saying.
the same at all.
Because it's like with theater, you can feel the energy of the audience. So as a performer, like for instance, did you ever get to play a bad guy on stage?
I won't say I played a bad guy, but I was
The villain,
a annoying girl.
Okay.
protagonist.
Okay.
Yes, I was
So-
very annoying.
Okay, so probably similar though. So
Yeah.
Joseph and I were in high school theater, and we played. There was a particular role and particular play where we were the antagonist.
Okay.
I was a greedy, filthy lawyer. He was a butler who was like my confidant, and we were playing. Basically, it's a family, a rich family died, and in order for their children to get their inheritance, they had to complete certain tasks. So we were there to fuck up the tasks so that we got the money instead, right?
Got it.
So we were vile. And on opening night for our curtain call, Joe and they gave each of the individual groups of characters individual curtain calls. So when Joe and I came out, we got a standing boovation.
Oh, nice.
People booed the fuck out of us.
That's so great.
And it was the
Felt great.
best
amazing.
feeling I'd ever had.
Yeah.
You know,
They hated us.
way different than a celebratory applause. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we evoked something from people,
That's true,
and
yeah.
that's what I mean. Like, that's something that after a really good vile performance on a film set, your
Yeah.
crews. I mean, you're gonna get accolades.
Right.
We
But it's not the same.
it's
It's
family.
definitely
We
not
all
the
do
same.
it, but yeah.
But
Yeah, it's that feeling you feel inside,
But
listening
it
to
brings
them
it out,
definitely talk to
so
you
the
about
next few performances,
Yeah.
I rode that high.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, we were doing something right. And I was able to run that energy. Whereas in film,
It's
you don't
different.
necessarily, especially because you do everything out of order.
Yeah, that's true.
and at one
That's
point
true.
he smacks me, and I think he was definitely on an adrenaline high on the final night because he smacked the shit. Or was it the second night?
I don't remember smack.
Who smacked me? Maybe
I'm
it
not
wasn't
saying
your
I did.
character.
I'm
I
not saying I
definitely got
did.
smacked by somebody.
I just don't remember doing it.
I know because I had the beard and I had to shave for it to be a butler, and I had razor burn.
When did you transition from theater to motion picture?
So actually, I met Ro. myself.
okay.
Yeah, I met Ro through stage.
Okay.
And then once we got married, we actually started music first. So we had a recording studio.
Okay.
And from a recording studio, that went to him doing music videos. And then from music videos, short films to films. You see, it was just a migration of.
So I love what you're saying here, because I think this is an important point that I want our listeners to really realize is along the way, each of those things weren't maybe necessarily part of the plan, but would you say that you learned a lot in each segment that you were then able to apply in your next progress?
Absolutely. First of all, so I also was a rapper, oddly enough. So I started
This
writing.
is news to me.
Yeah.
I gotta hear some of
yeah.
these mixtapes.
Say that for later.
But yeah, so I was a rapper. So starting to write as a rapper kind of opened the door to become a writer,
Okay.
because
Did you ever write like short stories? Was writing ever
writing was never, writing, film, none of these things were ever a thought.
Okay.
The only thing I did know I wanted to do was act. But in my mind, it never went past
Entertainment
stage.
was in your mind because that was a
Yeah.
part of your life.
But it never went past stage. Like stage was enough for me. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Right.
But when I met Ro and he was a rapper, that's how I started rapping. And I didn't even know I had that gift. And then when I started writing those things, it kind of went to treatments for music videos.
Okay.
From treatments to short films. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
a world
just
of
adding a
things.
little
yeah,
bit
it's just
more.
like a world. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just like, it became bigger.
Yeah,
than I could
because
have imagined.
and I'm going to extrapolate from what you kind of said here. So what Jezar has basically said, what I'm hearing is she took the effort of writing and realized that, hey, this is the same thing I can apply to. So a treatment, if you're not familiar with, is how you quote unquote script out a music video. It's basically telling a story. It's a short story with camera movements and instructions and blocking and so forth. But it's basically what the film crew will look at when determining how we're going to film it, how we're going to block it, how we're going to
Exactly.
cast
And
it.
once you know how to do that, you can really figure out how to do a screenplay,
And
especially when you're
exactly.
mixing in.
So
you've already
essentially
done
a
theater,
treatment.
You know what a script looks like.
Essentially, a treatment, if you've learned how to do a treatment, you basically learned how to do an outline. And a short film is nothing more than a longer music video. And a feature film is nothing more than a longer short film.
Much more complicated.
Everything,
but
everything from a 30-second commercial to a 3.5-hour epic
the same basic
has
process.
to have
It's just extended.
It has to have a 3-arc story,
Right.
right? You have to have your beginning, your middle, your end. You have to pose a
Absolutely.
question, create a problem, and solve it.
Absolutely.
What was then your first venture into film? Was this all still between the two of you guys creating your own things, or did you find yourself acting in a movie before you guys created a
Yes.
short?
So there was this popular creator here named by the name of Tommy Green,
Okay.
and he was doing a short film, and I ended up being one of the lead. I was actually the lead in that short film.
Okay.
And that was the first short film I had ever done. That was the first time I ever had a camera on me in this capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually went on to win Best Actress in that film.
Oh, well, that doesn't surprise me.
Well,
You're a good actress.
It surprised me, but thank you. I was like, what? No, but
Well, I hope you'd be surprised the first time. Yeah.
yeah, I was. And so, of course, at that point, I was bit by the bug.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, it was like, okay, well, roll. Let's make movies. We got to make movies. So we started this thing called the Big Picture Project,
Okay.
where it was 5 short films of different genres, and we were going to premiere all of them. But you know how life goes. We did the films.
Yeah.
We just never got to the premiering part of it. But that, that initially
Well, premieres cost money.
Yeah. Completion of projects
But
cost
selling
money.
tickets can make money if you have enough of a following.
That's true.
But I'm sure at that time that was not the case.
Yeah, because that was like in 2009 or something.
Yeah.
So then at some point, all of these little ventures and everything culminated in you writing and ultimately directing what you wrote.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first thing that you wrote and directed?
Birth of a Savage, right?
Well, that was the first feature film.
Nope, the first feature was Halt.
Yes. Okay.
Halt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was the
when they redid
script.
it to do
Fatal Dispatch?
Exactly.
Yes.
Correct.
That was the first one.
When was that done?
So Halt was done in 2016.
Okay.
We premiered it in 2018, and that won Best Feature, Best it was Best Feature and Best Screenplay, right? I believe. And then our 2 lead actors won Best Actor and Actress. This was for Halt, though.
What competition here in Detroit?
It was a Black Film Festival. I don't remember what.
BIFA?
No, maybe it was the Detroit Film Festival.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Okay.
But
Detroit
then,
Independent Film
Yeah,
Festival.
and so then,
before that one went under and they started the Black Film.
Okay.
Yep. So we had, and then we won. I don't remember what that particular film festival was, but it wasn't from Detroit. But our trailer had won something too. So
I didn't know trailers could take up.
Yeah, they had. I didn't even know that.
interesting.
Yeah, you can enter
Scripts
trailer
can too.
stuff.
You can send a script in festivals and get accommodations for that
And feedback.
Yeah,
Nice.
Feedback is what I would recommend you do it for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the challenges to bringing your own story to screen?
For me, it would be because I cannot half step for nothing. That is like the hardest. And I know that sounds crazy because you would say, well, you should want to, but when you're an independent filmmaker, there are some corners you have to cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's so challenging for someone like me who really doesn't look at this as just as a money grab.
Right.
Or look at me, it really is a passion.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy what I do,
I
right?
couldn't imagine living my life any other way.
Exactly.
I grew up watching film. Like my favorite thing to do in life is to watch movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a cheap date. You know what I'm saying? Like take me to see a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Take me see a movie. I want to see a movie. So like I really enjoy making movies. So the challenge that I often come across is being able to create it the way I seen it when I was writing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately, once you get on set, it's like, okay, well, we got to change that and we got to lower the process of that. And I'm like, oh.
Do you think the scripts from the first feature-length script that you wrote to maybe your more current ones, do you take that into consideration when you're writing, or is it still something that you have to rein yourself in? Like, do you think sometimes you have these ideas and you have to step back and be like, well, come on now, Jezar, how are we going to do that?
Exactly. And I do. Like, for now, like, so at this point in my life, I'm saying until I can get the budget to get the quality or reach the expectations I want for a film, I'll write to what I can have and still write a good thing, but just so that I can make sure I'm not cutting corners and cheapening myself.
No, and I definitely see that, especially in on the last episode where we did our movie list. You made a point to find things that fit that were as close to chamber pieces as they could be, because that's just where your mindset is, and that's where you're focusing. Yeah, because you want to figure out, how do I go bigger while shrinking it so that I can afford it. Yeah, I totally get that. And I definitely see it in your approach now, like how your mindset's changing. Yeah,
I appreciate it. Yeah, because I just don't want to. Birth of a Savage, in my brain, was bigger than the outcome, and it ultimately became a disappointment to me. I was like, I don't like this film, and we're like, we're still putting it out, but I don't like it, because I seen all this action and flipping it, but and it's not that. So I'm just learning to write something that fits what we can do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So before we move on, I'm going to comment on Birth of a Savage. Birth of a Savage is a great script. I thought it was a phenomenal script. Now, I personally enjoyed the movie. But having been there on set and having access to the script and such, I understand where you're coming from. And coming from your own, you birthed it more or less with the writing and then the performance of it. That you had a lot of hands in on that one, so I can see how personally attached you would be to it and how you could be expecting more. As a creator, do you find yourself always thinking that you could have just done better? Do you think that that's something that as creators we're just stuck in that eternal loop of, regardless of what your budget ends up being, regardless of what Academy Award winners you're able to get under you, do you think you're always going to turn around after release and be like, but
no,
you're a little more forgiving?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so this is a genuine feeling of, but I mean, it wasn't your first feature, as you said, Halt was, but I do remember at the time it was a big taking on. You guys, you and Ro both had a lot of responsibilities on that particular film, and so I think one of the lessons that we all learn is we can only do so much.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, you're both definitely spread a little thin.
But ultimately, with that in mind, now the viewers don't get to see that, but with that in mind, do you still think you achieved close to what you were really aiming for? Because I believe that the story and the message came across really well.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm going to say I feel Ro's part of the project was nice. Like, I love how he added the Asian touch to it, to the writing, what am I trying to say? The title cards and the sounds and the music. But when it came to the fighting scenes, or even as a writer, actually, I'm not that impressed. I know you said, because for me, it's very important to have an A, B, and C story, right? And I cannot stand a flat story for nothing. To me, Birth of a Savage had one of these.
It was too linear for you.
Yeah, and I just, whereas now Fatal Dispatch, on the other hand, this is why I said I know it's not a situation where it's, I just feel like, and if you have any humble, you will say, oh, of course I could have done better, but that's not what I feel with.
Right, and that's not what I'm asking you. Because it's a thing. Like Joe and I are.
I have no idea why this happened, but out of all the movies I've made and all the premieres I've been to, my parents decided to come to that premiere, Fatal Dispatch.
Yeah, they did.
And they loved it.
They watched it on Tubi when they went home.
They watched it again when they went home, and they have told my whole family about it.
I have zero complaints about it.
That is the movie. That is the movie in my career that my whole family was like, all I did was a bit role in the opening sequence. Like, all I've done in all these movies. No, I'm not, like, it's amusing as shit to me.
That's hilarious.
Like, I didn't gaff it. I didn't produce on it. I had the smallest role, but I mean, it was pivotal. And
it was
I do feel I did really well.
Very pivotal.
Yeah. But you were on set for 2 hours.
2 hours, 3 max. No, it was 3 because
you were there early.
I got lunch, bitch.
But something like that. I look back at it and I can't see, especially as an independent. I'm realistic about our budget and things like that. I can't see anything that I would have done differently, or I should say that I would have wanted to see differently. So,
I mean, you had fucking Wesley and
Yeah,
Gary.
I mean, you couldn't ask for better.
no,
You just couldn't ask for better. It was amazing.
It was so good.
Using these two features, which by the way, we're talking about Birth of a Savage and Fatal Dispatch, which are both available right now streaming on Tubi. And I highly recommend them both.
Thank you.
But comparing and contrasting them with how you are happier with the outcome of Fatal Dispatch versus the previously discussed Birth of a Savage, looking at them as a production, things that we can't control are things like the budget, right?
Correct.
But the things that we can control are things like preparation. Are there things that you learned in Birth of a Savage as far as preparation that helped when it came to creating Fatal Dispatch that maybe you guys did differently?
To have a little bit of grace, Birth of a Savage was happening COVID time period.
Yes.
So that's kind of more so probably why we didn't get the same outcome with Fatal Dispatch. We had to worry about,
Yeah, and you're getting like 50 cents on the dollar return because you're spending so much on PPE,
exactly,
COVID tests,
everything,
things,
worrying about timing and, you can't just serve lunch like you normally would. It was just a lot. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So
and we had a lot of hiccups too. And we had an Airbnb that we couldn't get into for several hours. And we ultimately didn't get into and had to relocate.
Yes.
We had actors. It was day one.
That was day one. And day one's supposed to be smooth technically. So
I always prep for day one to be a little rocky.
I mean, these things happen. Do you remember Renika McQueen's Chase Account production was Family Divided, where we had an Airbnb and the neighbor to the Airbnb was very unhappy that he lived next to an Airbnb. So apparently whoever before had thrown a party and he decided that, they're filmmakers, he bungeed his lawnmower to the fence right next to the living room window.
When we stepped outside
on his property,
we were shooting.
But he wasn't mowing his lawn.
He just
started it up and had the bungee around it and to the fence.
Kamal goes next door and talks to him. Say, hey man, we're just trying to get this real quick scene outside. Is there anything we can do about this lawnmower? He goes, no. His reason, he was emptying the gas out of his lawnmower. He has to do that. And Kamal came back and was like, have you guys ever heard of that? We're like, no. Like, why would you do that unless you're selling it or whatever?
I mean, to burn hours goes by. Carburetor, maybe.
Hours go by.
Maybe.
He comes out and
he refills it as it's running.
Refills it. The police got involved. The neighbors got involved. The neighbors
The neighbors brought us cookies.
Yeah, because they were like, we're sorry.
Like with frosting that said like we're sorry. And
long story short, I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not, but my brother knows the guy who owned that Airbnb, and we were the last guests. He sold it after that, so the neighbor won. More or less.
Dang.
Fuck that neighbor, dude.
Yeah, that's trash.
But those are the things
This is where great scripts come from, by the way.
Yeah.
I thought about a lot of things that could happen to that neighbor,
Have you watched Superhost yet? Remember I told you about?
Yeah. Was that the one about the
Airbnb with the crazy lady?
Yes, I did watch it. I did watch it. How crazy was she?
Did that help you with your script?
How crazy was she?
I gotta
She
watch
was
that
so
one
crazy.
still.
Okay, we're not gonna.
I'm checking stuff off my list already. The question I'm asking is, how important do you find preparation when going into a film? And do your previous films, do you learn lessons from that? Like, oh shit, next time we will.
Yeah, absolutely. So for someone like me who has OCD, oh god, everything has to be super, 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 prepared. So I will say, when we go from one film to the next, we always find something we can do different the next time. So let's say with Birth of a Savage, the one thing we wanted to, prime example, we learned that we want to do our harder scenes in the beginning part of the set versus towards the end. You know what I'm saying?
That's always tough as an AD to schedule stuff out because, I recently did a schedule for a horror film that is pretty bonkers from start to finish. So trying to decide what is and isn't more complicated. And then, at this point we're talking about a single night. So we're talking about,
how
costumes
graphic are
and
the kills.
How in what order do I do things to make sure that continuity on the costumes and wardrobe
who gets stabbed and then lives longer.
Right.
So you have to see this.
The other thing to question is sex scenes. In my mind, that's difficult. That's when you come to a scale of 0 to 10, sex scenes have got to be in that 9 or 10 range for most actors.
Right.
Especially with as quickly as we go through things, 10-day shoots, 12-day shoots if we're lucky.
Pieces.
How
I just
how
did a
familiar
5-day. I don't recommend.
how familiar are these actors? Like they could know each other through Facebook, through the Vine and whatever, but like to now be in a room with each other. And sometimes I have to ask myself, like, is it best to do this on the first day? Is it best to do this on the last day? Like at what
that kind
point?
of thing, I would say the last day, only because the chemistry building takes place at that, at that point.
But sometimes scheduling doesn't
when it
allow
comes
for
to the
that.
sex scenes, I would say closest to the end is good, but it depends on how much happens after the sex scene, like because that does create another level of intimacy between the actors, regardless.
Right, which is why if you wait to the end, then y'all
you wait to the end because they've made some sort of connection through the character,
Right.
But then if there's like a whole relationship afterwards, you still need some of the that
chemistry.
new the chemistry from the new, like you know what I mean. So you don't want to do it.
That could go either way, though.
It could, it could. But
Which is what makes it.
I've always seen it, but I've always seen it
Because it depends on the context of that scene. Like just saying, intimate scene or sex scene doesn't cover all of them,
No,
because I've had to
intimate
schedule.
scene can be just like a hand on a thigh,
Well,
or
but
a brush of the face.
up to this point in my career,
on the cheek.
Up to this point in my career, I have scheduled first time, first date kisses and sex scenes. I have scheduled married couples having sex. I have scheduled rapes. All of these have different levels for the actors to consider.
100%. Yeah.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, all of it, it's a psychological thing for the actors as well as it is for the director and for the crew and
Everyone involved. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't remember where we started with that. Preparation. Preparation. Yeah. So, you would say the harder things you would schedule closer to the front, and
if possible, obviously. But things that I know, like for example, with Fatal Dispatch, that scene where they would be outside for a good portion of the film, we did those in the beginning, right?
Yep.
And had a better outcome versus when we did the first one, which was Hulk. We did it towards the end, and by this time they had been on set for so many days.
Yeah,
they didn't have the kind of energy to give to that scene like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and also I think it worked for your favor weather-wise too.
That too. We didn't film in the same temperature either.
Fall, was it not? Wasn't autumn?
It was like August.
It was
August-ish. Still warm.
Yeah,
still kind of warm. Whereas the first one, it was kind of cold outside type of thing. So I'm real mindful of that kind of stuff now. Like if it's a movie with a lot of outside scenes, I don't want to do it in the winter.
Yeah,
nobody's trying to do
which
that,
is smart.
That type of thing.
Hey, and it's not always frozen in Michigan. And too many movies that show Michigan just show it in the winter. Like that's just them coming here in February.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So when it comes to your writing, is there anything in particular that you draw from? Because your stories always seem to be like I can't pinpoint like what your quote unquote thing is. Like you've got a pretty open type, but every single one of your stories that I've worked on with have had a very strong moral or ethical question, which, is very fun because I like the way that you bring that into the story. What do you draw from when you're coming up with these ideas?
So removing Birth of a Savage, because Birth of a Savage, it was me taking a chance on something different. Okay. So that wouldn't be the genre that I actually focus on. I am in fact, actually just a psychological thriller writer for the most part.
Okay.
I do dabble in comedy. Like I do like the next one I'll do well, the one after will be comedy. And that's just because I'm a goofball, so I have to get that stuff out. But
just real quick before you move on, I want to point out that Birth of a Savage is to me like quintessential the goofball part of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you wanted something, you realized you couldn't have it the way you wanted it, and you rode the slapstick a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the couple times when you like almost break the fourth wall looking at another character, like it's almost Jim Carrey-esque, like brilliance to the comedy, like because you were just like, well, if I can't have it this way, we're going to go this way, and it was just. It was savage, and I loved it.
Thank you. I do appreciate. I
do see that it was a different side of you, and maybe that way
yeah.
you're not trying to pursue now. But I think you should always go back to that silly side of you because your followers love it, and I think you're really, really good at it.
Thank you. I do have some comedy. Like I do have. You'd be surprised how many scripts have not seen the light
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's a lot of comedies. So I do have comedies, but the ones that I actually put out are psychological thrillers.
Okay.
Fun fact is I did get my degree in psychology.
Oh, okay.
So to pose a question in a film is to make a film interesting to me.
Yes, I agree.
It's just, you don't want to just a story. It's always about a question.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, what would happen if this happened type of thing. So for me, I do have a process. Whenever I come up with a film idea, I get about 5 or 6 good movies to watch that's similar to my idea. Mm-hmm. And I kind of look at what those, because if it's not broke,
don't fix it. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So I kind of look at those ideals and see what they gathered, right? And then I find out what all those people did that were similar and what can I do differently?
Yeah.
And add that little touch to it. Mm-hmm. So for example, like Fan of Mine, we've seen how many stalkers stalk a fan.
Yeah.
But how many have we seen a fan stalk how many celebrities stalk a fan? You know what I'm saying? I found one, and it was kind of different from what I did.
I was gonna say one, yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen one, and so I was like, okay, yeah. And here's the thing: just saying that out loud, you could say, okay, well, why would a celebrity do that? For a lot of reasons,
right? And then that's when you start asking those questions.
Yeah,
that one motherfucker just pushed you too far.
You get tired of being in this business. Like it's just to be a normal person. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mother and have a husband that tend to me. This life is not all it's cracked up to be. And then you get your wheels rolling like, okay, do I really want to be a celebrity? Hell no. That's what it feels like. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
100%.
That kind of thing is usually how I piece a story together. I get to thinking about things you think about when you're high, even though I don't get high.
But what if I were?
But what if I was? I would think of that. And then I'm very big on it's so important to me to have an A, B, and C story. Oh, that's just so important. Because a movie doesn't just ask you one question.
Yeah.
It asks you a few, right?
Yeah. It should, yeah.
And so,
I agree with that.
And I think where a lot of big blockbusters miss is they focus on too much on the one, or when they do try for a more contrived, they either add one arc too many, or they're too worried about, we have to appease everybody's contract.
Yeah.
There's instead of just focusing on the story.
Yeah.
So that's my follow-up question to your writing. So now you've got your question. You like to write in this, in the thriller realm. When you're writing, and your writing is, because I don't know if you write sometimes just to write, or if you write because this is something that you want to produce versus selling the script off for someone else to direct or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you're creating it and you know in your mind that this is something that you want to helm, are there things that you try and incorporate into the script because as a filmmaker you want to try doing something like, I've never, like, for example, Birth of a Savage, it has fighting in it. Nothing else you've done has fighting.
Right.
And that being a individual isolated example, in other cases, is that something that, you mentioned going forward, you have a chamber piece. Was that because in your mind you wanted to write in one location? How can I take this challenge and make it into something?
Yeah. So let's focus on the chamber. When I watch those, my question I ask myself is, can I sit through this knowing that you're going to be in this spot this whole time?
Right.
That's my first question.
Yeah.
And whenever I find myself being able to do that, I'm like, dang, you had to really stretch yourself as a writer to be able to even keep my interest, knowing that this was it. This was it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so that's something I always wanted to do. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to see if it's actually really possible to keep someone's attention without moving it or focusing it on so much movement and location.
Right.
Like, can dialogue keep you, or not just, I'm not going to say just dialogue, because I know for myself, I need to see action.
Yeah.
But can I keep the action compressed? You know what I'm saying? Can I keep you engaged in this one spot? And so, because that's my most recent challenge, and I think I'm accomplishing. I
think. It's very easy to say, they get in a conflict and somebody punched somebody and then they fly through a door and now they're in the street.
Yeah.
And then they are driving through, and doing, it's easy to write action.
Exactly.
It's hard to write the confrontation and the people staying right there, planting their feet in this room and digging through whatever. And that's the hard part. What are they digging through?
I love, the circle being one of the examples. There was less than what I'm doing, because it's going to be some action, but it is going to be in one location, but it will be enough movement to keep your attention. Whereas the circle, there was just a damn circle of people standing.
Is this the one
each
with the
other.
50 people?
Yes.
I'm curious to have you back on once you finish the script and see what you learned about yourself by delving into how do I stand in one place.
Yeah, I definitely
and
will.
deal with this shit.
Listen, we're gonna talk about that one, but yeah, this one's gonna be amazing.
I said when you come back. I didn't say right now. I ain't trying to put you on the spot. We're about done anyway.
I'm always big on I like to play with people's minds. That is the fun thing for me. Like because I like when they play with mine. You know what I'm saying? So
that's part of the
that's
art.
part of relinquishing yourself to a viewing experience.
Yeah, because you know how many people said, "Oh, I thought Fatal Dispatch was going to be about this," and then it went that way, and I couldn't figure it out no more.
Same
it
with
was
Birth of a Savage. Birth of a Savage is very much about misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. And setting expectations before understanding
in a different way. But yes.
Even with the one that we're getting ready to go do now, She Without Sin. That one, for me. Now, here's the thing about that one. I was told
miss you guys.
Oh,
leaving me for Appalachia. From down to Virginia.
I was hired to write someone's story, right? But I had told her, like, okay, well, we're not going to do it as a bibli, which means it's basically all about you.
Yep.
The only thing that would work for me is to make it a fictional story, right? Mm-hmm. So I just took a lot of elements of her real life.
You dramatize it.
Yeah, but I made it,
it's more than
like a thriller. Yeah, it's almost like a thriller now at this point.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. More than psychological. It's not sci-fi, but it's... I guess a spiritual thriller.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, spiritual. I guess I would say thriller.
Probably a better word
Superstitious.
for it.
You ever? Hey, I know. Religious? What would you call Devil's Advocate?
Devil's Advocate. Okay, I would call that. So I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of something that we haven't already said.
That's a good comparison,
right? So like I guess a psychological thriller, but it is sort of religious based, but it's not at the same time because it flirts with that.
Yeah,
but
and I don't want to call it a paranormal thriller because it's not that either.
Yeah,
no, and I wouldn't add paranormal to
spiritual
what
thriller is probably the closest.
Because ultimately, what the goal was, I wanted people to believe that these characters that she encountered are actual street criminals, you know,
and the viewer.
Out.
So it's a psychological thriller with some superstitious,
right? So yeah, I mean,
like
obviously we're talking around, and the viewers don't know what we're talking about. So we're heading to Virginia. We're going to be filming this script. So obviously, at this point, we can't relinquish a lot of information. But the pitch, I guess, the summary, the one line. Do you have a one line?
I don't.
So more or less, it's dealing with the loss of family and understanding their struggles. It's putting yourself in someone else's shoes, but with a very fictional element to it that assists in the lesson.
With a veil of grief.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
And I wanted to focus on forgiveness. That was the takeaway, basically, forgiveness, and I guess whatever other spiritual things you find in that story.
Which I think is always good to leave a little bit for the viewer to find more of. You know, I think the more streamlined you keep your message, the better reception it is, because people can always interpret and perceive it in their own ways. What? I had another question lined up, but we went long on that other one. So give me a second here. When you are writing, and so you've got your question that you want to ask, you've got your A, B, and possibly C storylines. How do you approach dialogue?
So
would that be that smile on your face? Is that your challenge?
No. The reason I smile because it's in this point I'm actually challenging myself to do a different type of dialogue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, first off, I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan, and I realized that
he chatters a lot.
Yes, but he does. It's the things he say that's so It's not your everyday conversation.
That's
it's so weird and witty.
It's both. For me, Quentin Tarantino is both. He takes people that you normally, like, for example, Pulp Fiction. You got 2 hitmen, 2 killers.
Yeah.
And then you just have them talking about fucking burgers.
Just everyday things.
So now they're just everyday jokes.
Yeah. Been the phrase, man.
But on the and the opposite of that is something like Inglourious Bastards, where they're you see the filthy behavior, like you just straight up like this is unfettered. These are men going to kill men, and they're talking about killing men.
Yeah.
So he's able to. He's my highlight too, and I think because he has been the bar for me,
he's able to use dialogue to drive the story and make every single character be a little everyman.
Yeah.
Because they're still talking about everyday bullshit. Maybe it's in a weird way, but it's driving the story and their character in that moment.
So one of the things he does is avoid exposition in dialogue and allows the exposition to play out on screen. Is that something that That's
very, very huge for me. I was actually talking to my sister about that the other day. Because I can't, for me, less is better when it comes to dialogue. Mm-hmm. That is my thing. I'm not big on chatter.
So you're not a big monologuist?
No. Because soon I see that paragraph too big, I'm like, let's scoot it up. Yeah. Unless it's super essential to the story. Okay. But if it's not, then I try to, less is best for me in that sense. But I laugh because normally I would say the scripts prior, it was just basic everyday dialogue. Mm-hmm. But my challenge now is to say things in a way that you would hear it every day. That is like exciting to me right now to try it. Like you're still talking about everyday conversation, but saying it in a way where people walk away like, oh, I got to start saying that now. You know?
So have you watched many Guy Ritchie movies?
Name one of his.
So Guy Ritchie, he goes back. Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels is his. Snatch with Brad Pitt is his. Those are going to be the 2 big name ones. Recently he did The Gentleman, which was about the weed dealers in Europe. He did Rock and Rolla. So he's very British and very Tarantino adjacent in the sense that Tarantino was first, and Guy Ritchie is like the closest thing we have to more Tarantino.
Gotcha.
His dialogue is also very witty and snappy. So I would recommend Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch for you specifically. Okay. If you're looking to study into some dialogue, that is just like
that is the goal.
Another one, the very first, not the original Frank Sinatra, but the remake of Ocean's 11.
Okay. Ocean's. Yeah. I seen Ocean's.
The dialogue in that movie is very similar in the sense that like it moves you forward, and sometimes they're just not really to specifically. I would say the Don Cheadle role, the things that he adds because he has that Cockney British attitude with it. So the things that he's saying is nonsense, but it still moves the conversation forward in a very, very interesting way.
I feel like that's important. Dialogue is everything, you know what I'm saying? But
that's why I struggle with it because I write normal like, hey, hi, how are you? And it's just like or I get too expositional and I'm like,
I can't. Yeah, that part drives me nuts. Like I love to. One of the things I love to do callbacks. Okay. So things that you heard something in the beginning of the story and then midway.
So you're a fan of foreshadowing, leaving hints.
That's right. She says she loves so much about Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, I love that. That's very, very.
And there was a lot of that in that. And if so, we were talking about Guy Ritchie. The few he didn't mention that you may have seen would be Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies.
Okay.
Those are Guy Ritchie.
That's right. I forgot about that.
But those, I mean, I would still back up your 2 choices, but it does still represent his quippiness.
His oeuvre.
His oeuvre,
well, final question then for you. Where are your goals going forward? What do you have set forward for yourself? I don't mean specifically as far as this, but I mean like 5-10 years from now, what you're doing now versus where you see yourself. What are you trying to progress for yourself? Are you focusing in the filmmaking aspect? Are you trying to grow more as an actress? Is it going to stay?
You'd be surprised to know what my answer is going to be. But in 5 years, I own one of the largest kids shows you've ever seen.
I think that's such a
it's a great aspiration.
Yeah,
kid shows are
as long as it's not like Death to Smoochie.
No. I literally like Boxy Roxy. I see it being mainstream in 5 years. writers, like something really
They
big. Like
wonderful.
Yeah.
So, and then as far as the film business go, I see probably doing a little bit more acting for sure. Because I this year I did. I stepped out and really did some acting. But let's jump 10 years. Let's go 10.
Sure. Let's do
okay.
10
So
years.
because outside of Quentin, my favorite director is Tim Burton.
Okay.
And one of my favorite films is Edward Scissorhands, right?
Great choice.
And yeah, I freaking love Edward Scissorhands, and even Addams Family and things of that nature. I'm quirky like that. Like I could watch Tim Burton movies.
You like me? You like that older Tim Burton?
Yes, I can watch.
That's
that
why
kind of
Beetlejuice
stuff for hours.
was so beautiful to me because
even
it was,
anything Tim Burton adjacent, like Addams Family.
Yeah, I love all that stuff, but I noticed that there are no black people in that, right? And when I asked a few black people, I said, "Well, what is it that we don't have that kind of, or we're not even in it?" And they'll always say, for the lack of better wording, too cool for school type of thing. And I don't think so. I just think we don't have it, And so I would love to.
Out there,
I would love to know. What you think? What do you say? What is it?
There's a few, isn't there? Like Haunted Mansion and
Haunted Mansion.
That's not really that though.
it's not
like
the same.
I'm talking about literally Edward Scissorhands. Like first off.
Well, yeah, Edward.
Yeah, like he's the man. I freaking love. Y'all don't know how much
the scary
I love
movies
him.
more like kind of
what's
House on
say his
Haunted
name?
Hill.
Who? Eddie Murphy?
No. Well, yes, of course I love Eddie, but Jack Sparrow. Give me his name.
Oh, Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp is before Eddie Murphy. Johnny Depp was the love of my life in a sense because I love that he take risks. He's never the same, and I'm big on that. So and not that I just want to write movies for black people or anything like that. I just want to see them in it. And I feel like if we started writing that type of stuff, it would help,
It has to be done. I think, and I agree with you. And I think the unfortunate answer is no one's going to do it for you.
Exactly.
Because Hollywood is just fucking dumb, right? Like there's been proof in the pudding, but why stories haven't been expanded to full integration of all types?
Jordan Peele's been trying, but he
is trying. He is
using the same actors.
So unfortunately, I think the biggest problem is that like someone like Jordan Peele is doing. He's just making movies. He's legit just going out there making movies, and he's answering the question that you're saying. Like, I've never seen a black man represented. I'm going to represent him like that, and then tells a story for everybody. But marketing is still marketing it as a Jordan Peele movie for black people.
Oh, see, and that's not the goal. I guess
that's what I'm saying.
The goal for me is just to
be a movie that includes everybody.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not black, and if a Jordan Peele movie is advertised, I'm going to see it.
I get that.
I didn't like the last
I get that.
but I get it for sure. But
you didn't like the last one?
You didn't like Nope?
No,
Nope is my favorite.
I loved it.
Nope is my favorite. I did not like Us.
Oh, why not?
Yeah, I liked Us.
I'm gonna have to watch it again before I can give you a solid answer. But I remember at the end, I was like, "Oh, really?"
And then he's doing Thriller. But I'm literally talking about, like Addams Family, right? Because I freaking love Addams Family. Like,
so good.
Oh my God, I love Addams Family. And then Edward Scissorhands, then you got Beetlejuice. But these are all Caucasian men,
100%.
right? And I'm like, okay, is it that we would look too goofy doing that?
No,
or is it that
was at least Italian?
Well, yeah,
or
that's
Latino.
true. And I'm just like, and I got to the point where I just felt like, no, we just don't write it. We just don't have anyone writing it. You know what I'm saying? And because it's not that Tim Burton doesn't cast. Samuel L. Jackson has to be his friend. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I do believe, but I do think we have this
In
stigma
all fairness,
that
Tim
we
Burton,
just.
I love him to death, but he's always been kind of a little Disney bitch.
Yeah.
So
That's
in
understandable.
Disney's as whitewashed as they get. I mean, shit, fucking Disney himself was a pen pal to fucking Hitler.
So for me, I would say just like in 10 years, my goal is to branch off and give us that quirky, the quirky that's missing.
Yeah, I respect that. Yeah, that's a good ambition.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Jezar, I want to thank you for joining us again. Before we let you go, could you do some promoting for yourself for our listeners? Let them know who you are. I'm so fucking echoey. We're going to figure that out. Sorry, everybody. Where can people find you, and what should they be watching?
So you can always find me at Jezar Riches, JezarRiches, at all social media platforms. I kept it simple for you guys. You can also check out Birth of a Savage, which don't listen to what I said about the film because I have two wonderful spectators who said that they were great. So check that out. It's also on Tubi for free.
For free.
And then Fatal Dispatch is also on Tubi for what?
For free.
Yes. And so we do have Fan of Mine coming out soon. And be on the lookout for Nutty Beautician, as well as a new film that I'll be. Oh, and we're going to what? We're going to film. But we got to promote that right now.
Yeah, way too early.
Yeah, too early to promote that.
We got to get out there first.
Yeah, so let's recap. There's 4 movies. You got Birth of a Savage, Fatal Dispatch, Nutty Beautician, and
Fan of Mine.
Fan of Mine coming soon.
Yes. And then lastly, do me the hugest favor. The hugest. Is that a word? Hugest is a word.
It sure is. It is today.
Yeah, and go on YouTube and subscribe to Boxy Roxy. That is a toddler's channel, but the parents can enjoy it because the music is for everyone.
So what's your target demographic on that as far as
Boxy
children?
Roxy? Oh, everyone. Literally. I have rock music. I have reggae. I have every sound.
What about
hip-hop.
so if I had a child, I don't. Mine's older.
Okay.
She's still my child, but she's older.
She's an adult.
But if I did have a youngling, what age range is that targeted for? Is it targeted for like the youngest? Like
1 to 5.
I'm spitting up still on myself.
No, like I have a 6, almost 7-year-old.
I would say 1 to 5 are really enjoying it. But what I have witnessed,
there's always crossover. Right?
Yeah, what I've witnessed was like you have that 7-year-old that has a toddler sibling, and then you find the 7-year-old really watching, like, okay, this is,
I'll show her for
because
sure,
the music is the music. The focus for that. And
she loves YouTube, so I'll just type it in and put it on, and if she likes it, she'll keep watching.
Yeah, it's the music.
That's
the music
Boxy Roxy, BoxyRoxy.
Exactly.
On YouTube. All right, yeah, like and subscribe that.
Please like.
Well, Jezar, thank you, Joe. How can people find you online?
At chaotic_artisan or right here at the podcast. #SetLife and #UFPod.
And you can find me at Beeford Clark on Instagram. You can find the show at ufostudio.detroit. You can follow us on Facebook at Unorthodox Film Podcast. We do release episodes every other Monday. They have been a little slow because we've been a little busy, but we've got a new office now, and we're excited to get some more guests in here and get these pumping out at a little more of a regular basis for you. So for that, we'd love your feedback. Let us know what you love. Let us know what you don't love.
Let us know what you want to hear about.
Tell us what you thought about our interview here with Jezar. Are there any other questions that you'd like us to get answered for you? We'll have her on another time, or we can ask other guests. Or what type of guests would you like us to have on? What type of things in the film industry would you like us to try and find people to talk about? Give us a comment on that, whether it's on YouTube or Apple Music or Spotify. We are available on all major streaming services. And last but not least, we do sell merchandise. It helps us support the show, and hopefully in the future, maybe fund a feature film for us. So you can go to the UFO Bazaar. It's at the-UFO-BAZAAR.printify.me/products. Or you can just go to our website at ufpodcast.podbean.com and follow the link there, as well as listening to all of our episodes. So thank you, everybody, for giving us a listen, and we will talk to you next time.
Yeah, boys, shout it out.
Woo!